Garrett?
So I'd like to follow up with Jim Coy. Jim, you mentioned that you had an opinion from a friend with regard to something, but you didn't specify what, and what was the opinion, if you feel like you can share it.
Yeah, I asked the question as far as the definition from what I was hearing from people is that there's a real fine line between what is determined as an employee and what is determined as a contractor. And there are several cities in the state that are being sued by the government because they've done this to avoid paying PERS and workman's comp and benefits. So my concern was that where are we at on this line? I was being assured by Louis that we were fine. So I asked a friend of mine who just happened to be the lead attorney for PERS before she became director of LCOG what her opinion was. And she determined that it sounded like he was definitely a contractor and not an employee. That was one opinion. The other is, and that was based on the definitions that the state requires or puts forth. So out of that, I took it and went back to Louis and said, you know, this is very gray here. We're going to get into trouble because we are liable for all that back comp, all that back PERS, any back expenses, if it's determined that we're in violation. So I'm very concerned about that. So that's why I went to her and asked her opinion. Again, it being a PERS lead attorney, figured she would know what the definition is. And she supplied that to me. So it wasn't, and I did go to Louis with this, and he assured me that we were fine. So
the only thing I'd like to say to you is no one touched your private emails.
that's the only way you could have gotten that information.
If you said so.
Well, I'm just telling you, it's the only way it comes through.
Yep.
She and I only converse via my personal email and not the city email. So that's the only way it came through.
Garrett?
Before I make a motion, do any other councilors have anything that they want to say?
And discussion of the city's contract with Michael B. Hansen LLC. Put it on the agenda.
So
Just-
Is that a motion?
Yes.
And what
I'd
would you
like to add it to the agenda.
today?
Yep.
I don't know if we can do that.
I'm fine.
I'm not sure everybody heard what that was. I
The
believe
discussion
all-
of the city's contract with Michael B. Hansen LLC.
I'd like to discuss the contract.
Yep.
Okay. I second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Discussion?
I think he wanted to add it to the agenda.
Yes.
So you want it as a today?
Yes.
But it's 6.5.
6.5.
6.5?
Yep.
Do we have to vote to add it?
No, that's an adjustment.
Okay.
But,
Okay.
I'd also like to add something to the agenda.
Can't hear you.
Can't hear you.
I'd also like to add something to the agenda.
Good.
Sorry. I'd like to have further discussion of an evaluation, assessment of the administrative review. We began that discussion last week and we tabled it. And an administrative review covers all of the city. And it isn't pointed at one individual or another individual. It is pointed at the processes that we use and the and other things that occur. So this isn't about one individual. This is about the process that we do. So I'd like to reintroduce that and discuss it.
And where do I put that?
6.6.
And what do I call it?
We're requesting administrative.
Administrative review.
Policies and procedures.
Or, city
The functions and policies and procedures of our city. Right.
Policies and procedures at the administration.
Yes, absolutely.
Anything else?
I just have one thing that kind of dovetails into what Mayor Ford is saying, is that I understand that there was a conversation between the administrative staff and a PERS representative concerning the PERS liability of the city with the relationship with Mr. Hanson. And I believe that was released on, I think I received that as an email sometime ago, and I think it came from Susie. Would you elaborate on what that discussion was about?
First call, and they contacted the city.
Because
Speak up, please.
First contacted the city because they had received a phone call asking about Michael Lee Hansen and whether or not he's an independent contractor. The first person asked me some questions. I answered her questions, and she was satisfied that he was an independent contractor. And that was pretty much the end of this discussion. The email was sent out because there was a lot of discussion going around, and it was just sent out for a heads up to all of you that someone had contacted PERS. PERS contacted us. I answered the questions, and they were satisfied with those answers.
Josh, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I would like to add discussion to fill the open spot on city council.
I ran out of room. Okay. Any additions, corrections, or adjustments to the agenda?
Just get it.
Just get them all?
I
Okay.
don't want to make a motion, but I'll let
Okay.
everybody else go first. So we all done? Okay. Pursuant to executive session, I respectfully request that we impose a moratorium of 30 days before taking any action of any kind involving Mr. Gomez's current employment status with the city, and that there be no conversation or discussion outside of executive session and in conference with our attorney.
I second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion on it? Kathy?
Does that need to be a little more specific if you're talking about council? Like, what exactly did you say? You say
A moratorium on any
council.
council discussion.
Speak up, please.
Discussion regarding, I think we need to make sure that this is council discussion, so I would ask that that be.
That's fine, I'll agree with that. You want to read back the motion, please?
For an executive session, we respectfully request a moratorium on any council discussions for at least 30 days from the school demolitions.
Status. Oh, with the city. miss anything?
No,
I think that was it.
Yeah.
And what did you say?
Asked, I didn't have the word counselor on it.
And it did.
and my second sentence.
Okay, call for a vote. Counselor Gobelman,
Aye.
Counselor Carl,
Aye.
Mayor Rowland,
Aye.
Counselor Holcomb,
Aye.
Counselor Holston,
No.
Counselor McMillan,
Passes. He said, what did you say, John?
Aye.
Ah, okay.
So I'd just like to say one other thing, because of incidences we've had previously. Executive session is not to be discussed outside of executive session. And although there were reporters there, none of this is to be in the press or reported. And counselors, to remind all of you that this is not open for discussion outside of our conference.
Kathy?
And also reiterate that this is not to be discussed by the administration either.
Yeah, it goes for
I
everybody,
think that's what we
all around.
decided in there, that no one, okay. Okay. Consent agenda?